There is a place where man can do well on the land. Yet it is a place where the wind can blow all his work away. If man misuses this good earth, the wind can blow his life away. The Great Plains of North America were once one vast natural pasture. French explorers gave it the name prairie, which was their word for grassland. The Great Plains extend from the eastern hardwood forests to the Rocky Mountains and from the Gulf of Mexico far into Canada. About 1/2 of this area is still natural pasture. The native grasses found here can be driven out by continuous close cropping or by the plow. Where the stockman has been zealous in meeting growth requirements of his grasses as well as of his stock, these natural pastures have raised our livestock for a century without benefit of cultivation, seeding, fertilization, or irrigation. And this has been accomplished in a rigorous climate. The yield is not so great as from grasses introduced to our pastures from other regions, but when the costs of producing a pound of beef are compared, it is obvious why all the tillable range has not been converted to planted grasses. Much of our Great Plains was suitable for cultivation. Some was not. One thing we can never forget is that droughts are normal in the Great Plains, but in good years it is all too human to push this unpleasant fact from our minds. We have learned how to reestablish native grasses on lands found unsuitable for cultivation, but this ought to be done in the good years, just when it may seem least necessary, when prospects for cash grain crops look best. Let's listen to some remarks on this subject by an experienced rancher, Mr. A.P. Atkins of Guymon, Oklahoma.
I see you've had that northwest pasture empty up there all summer. How about renting it to me?
No, I can't afford to rent grass, even though I don't happen to be using it right at the moment. I may not even use that grass this year, but I figure that that's a reserve that in case next year's dry, I won't run out of grass. And besides, to keep a cover on this land helps this grass to reseed and helps it to absorb what little moisture we do get even in the dry years.
Native grasslands, both pastures and meadows, vary greatly in productivity from year to year. This meadow cuts up to 1 ton of hay in good years and less than half a ton in poor years. The kinds of native perennial plants you see being harvested have been here for centuries. They have adjusted their growth to meet the changeable weather of the Great Plains. While many kinds of cultivated plants die in droughts, most native grasses simply become dormant. The varieties of perennial plants on a native range will vary with grazing treatments. The composition of the mixture is changed for better or worse by the time of year when it is grazed. This pasture was rested in the spring and grazed in the summer. There's an abundance of western wheatgrass, a cool season grower. Another pasture on the same ranch was grazed each spring, but rested in summer. This one has an abundance of blue grama, a warm season grower. The closeness of grazing affects the growth relationship between short and long grasses. Kenneth Conrad, a successful rancher near Ray, Colorado, explains it this way.
Cattle are lazy by nature and prefer the tall, lush grasses. This lets the grama increase. In dry climate or on dry sites, we should expect a high percentage of short grasses. On the other hand, in areas of higher rainfall or on moist sites, the short grasses are out of place. Under good management of grazing, they'll be crowded back to the proper amounts by taller, higher-producing grasses. It takes grass to make grass. However you harvest it, leave half and take a bigger half next year.
A good range grazing program should be based on 4 cardinal principles. First, no more livestock should be put on any pasture than it will support. Second, grazing should take place in most favorable seasons. Third, animals should be kept as evenly distributed as possible. Fourth, the kind of livestock should be adapted to the type of grass and the region in which the farmer or rancher lives. There is no more economical conservation practice for native pastures than management of grazing. When moderately grazed, the soil is protected the year round. The plains have been truly named great. In all conscience, let us see to it that they shall never cease to deserve that name.